Y'all think this is about romance? It's about lines being crossed where they don't get crossed. That's what Jaguar Wright said. Not loudly, not with a list of receipts, just calmly. And that calm is exactly what made everyone stop scrolling. Because breakups happen in Hollywood every single day. Nobody cares. But the moment Jaguar pulled the word family into this conversation, it stopped being entertainment gossip and started feeling like something else entirely. Something heavier. So let's break down what we actually know, what allegedly happened behind closed doors, and why the silence from both sides may be telling a story that neither of them ever planned to tell publicly. First, you need to understand who these two people are separately, because this story only makes sense with that context. Teyana Taylor has never been someone who shrinks herself for anyone. After her highly public split from Iman Shumpert in 2023, which she made clear was about growth and choosing herself, not betrayal, every single move she made afterward was under a microscope. Every post dissected, every appearance analyzed. People weren't just watching her date again. They were watching how she dated again, what that said about her, whether she had changed or stayed exactly the same. Pierre is almost the opposite energy, at least publicly. Rising fast in Hollywood, disciplined in a way that feels intentional, not accidental. Every interview shows a man who chooses his words carefully, guards his private life like it's a business asset, and does not invite chaos into his public image. That restraint became part of his appeal. People respected the mystery around him. Together, from the outside, they looked balanced. Her expressive and bold, him focused and controlled. Stylish appearances together. Just enough visibility to spark curiosity, never enough to confirm anything fully. That surface, the relationship was sitting on pressure that most people couldn't see. They were both in major transition phases at the exact same time. Teyana rebuilding publicly after divorce. Aaron stepping into bigger roles and stronger industry positioning. When two people are both climbing simultaneously, image management becomes extremely delicate. Circles matter. Who has access matters, timing matters. And insiders have long described Aaron's inner circle as tight. Not fame-obsessed, but control-obsessed. Who gets in, who stays out, who influences the narrative around him at any given moment. So this was never just two people falling into a relationship. It was two very different ecosystems attempting to merge. And when ecosystems collide, even small friction can quietly become something much larger than it first appeared. According to multiple insiders, the moment that changed everything didn't happen on a red carpet or at a public event. It happened at a small private family gathering. No cameras, no industry energy in the room. Just Aaron, a few close relatives, and Teyana stepping into a space that was already layered with unspoken tension before she ever arrived. What exactly happened inside that room is where the stories begin to split. Some claim a comment was made about boundaries. Not aggressive, not loud, just pointed in a way that landed hard. Others say the issue centered around visibility, specifically how much public exposure was too much when you're trying to protect someone's carefully controlled image. The most serious version of the story, the one that kept resurfacing across different sources, suggests that something deeply personal to the family was brought into the conversation. Something private that was never meant to leave that circle. None of it is confirmed. But every version of events ends exactly the same way. The room went cold. Teyana reportedly didn't explode. She didn't raise her voice. Instead, her tone sharpened, controlled, and direct, making one thing absolutely clear. She was not going to be managed, monitored, or made to feel like she needed approval from people outside the relationship itself. Those who claim to have knowledge of that night described the atmosphere shifting in a way that everyone in the room felt, but nobody directly addressed. And then there's the detail that keeps coming back in every version of this story. Aaron didn't immediately step in. No defense, no immediate shutdown of the tension in the room. Just hesitation. In a moment like that, in front of family, hesitation speaks volumes. People close to the situation say that's when the emotional pullback began. Not a breakup, not a dramatic fight, just a quiet shift. Because once someone feels unsupported in a room full of people who matter to their partner, something closes internally that doesn't easily reopen on its own. Within days of that night, fragments started appearing on gossip pages. No verified screenshots, no full names attached. Just pieces of conversations and one idea that kept getting repeated across different platforms. The family never recovered from that night. It wasn't presented as confirmed fact. It didn't need to be. In celebrity culture, perception moves faster than verification. Once people believe something might be true, they start connecting dots, even dots that may not actually connect. Then came the word that completely reframed the conversation for anyone paying close attention: access. According to the anonymous posts and insider chatter circulating at the time, the real issue wasn't jealousy, it wasn't disrespect in any traditional sense, it was about access. Who had it, who didn't, and whether someone had stepped into a space they hadn't fully been invited into yet. That single idea sent the internet into detective mode overnight. Old interviews of Aaron resurfaced where he spoke about protecting his personal life at all costs, about keeping his circle intentionally small. Suddenly, those quotes didn't sound philosophical anymore. They sounded deliberate, like ground rules that had already been set long before any of this happened. Meanwhile, people started noticing smaller things: photos quietly disappearing from feeds, likes removed from old posts, Teyana's content shifting toward themes of self-protection and choosing peace without drama, Aaron going noticeably quiet in a way that felt different from his usual private nature. No statements, no explanations, just absence. And in this industry, absence often communicates more clearly than any direct comment ever could. Here's where the story takes its sharpest turn. And it's the layer that most people skipped over entirely. Insiders suggest that when this alleged incident occurred, Aaron was already in the middle of a significant career transition. Not just working, pivoting, bigger roles coming in, stronger negotiating power, a shift from rising talent to leading presence. And during that kind of move, the people around you stop being just personal support. They become strategic. Who attends events with you? Who gets photographed beside you? Who has access to your space while sensitive conversations and deals are still being worked out behind the scenes. Now place an unresolved family tension incident directly inside that exact window. Suddenly, it's not just about hurt feelings or a difficult night. It's about alignment, about who fits cleanly into the next chapter and who, even without any bad intention, creates complications during the most critical period. One insider claim suggested that after that night, the conversations that followed weren't about ending things loudly, but about quietly resetting what was and wasn't acceptable going forward. That reframes Jaguar's words in a completely different light. When she said this wasn't about love, maybe she wasn't talking about heartbreak at all. Maybe she was talking about two people with fundamentally different ideas of what control looks like, colliding at the absolute worst possible moment for one of them. After Jaguar's statement and the storm that followed online, neither Aaron nor Teyana made any public move to address it. No press statement, no clarification post, no "this is false," just stillness from both sides, sustained and deliberate. In entertainment law circles, that choice has a specific logic behind it. Denials create timelines. The moment you publicly deny something, you lock yourself into specific dates, locations, and versions of events. If even one small detail doesn't line up later, it becomes a contradiction, and contradictions become ammunition. So rather than speak, both sides stayed quiet. Anonymous insiders then added one more layer to this: the suggestion that not everyone inside Aaron's family circle fully agreed on how the situation was handled afterward. Some reportedly felt things were overcorrected. Others believed that once a line like that gets crossed, it has to be addressed immediately with no exceptions. If that's true, then the silence around this isn't just unified, it's fragile. Because when multiple people share knowledge of the same private event, the structure only holds as long as everyone inside it agrees to stay quiet. And that kind of agreement is never guaranteed forever. If this were simply heartbreak, the noise would have faded weeks ago. New headlines would have buried it. But when family, reputation, and career direction intersect at the same moment, silence stops being passivity. It becomes the most calculated move available. And the thing about a strategy built entirely on silence is this: it only holds until one person inside that circle decides they have nothing left to protect. That moment hasn't come yet. But the longer this stays unaddressed, the more pressure builds inside it. The question isn't whether something happened. At this point, too many separate sources point in the same direction for that to still be a real question. The question is whether the full story ever surfaces, or whether it quietly disappears the way things do when powerful people agree, without a single word spoken publicly, to simply let it go. So tell me, do you think this was about love failing under pressure, or two people with completely different ideas of control colliding at exactly the wrong moment? Drop it in the comments.